Oh yes, the soul language. Yes, in answer to that, the time when you truly experience the soul language is when you're in the 8th dimension and above, where you automatically understand every person through the emotional interaction. If I can illustrate it this way, sorry, someone needs a battery. Yeah. Okay. If I can explain it this way. Here's my soul. Remember, it's half of the soul. Here's the person I'm communicating with. Let's say I'm communicating with Mary, so she's in the feminine half of the soul. I have a spirit, body, mind. So I'll just draw my spirit body like that. And then I have a physical body, brain. And she also has a spirit body's mind. And she also has a physical body. Sorry about the dress, babe. In her, with a brain. Now the brain really only controls the physiological and other functions of the physical body. The mind itself is the thing of the spirit body that we store a lot of information, become mind dominant with. Now, I have a feeling in my soul. So what have I got to do to translate it into language? I've got to use my mind to translate into a language that I can actually speak. That I can actually speak with my mouth. Hopefully that the person who's hearing can hear with their ears, that they then translate using their mind into a language, and then they have a lot of feelings associated with that particular translation. So can you see there's a lot of scope for error in my communication using these methods? So I could say the words, "I'm Jesus" to you, and you can feel absolutely horrible as a result. I don't mean it to be horrible, but because of different emotions in you, there's different responses. Does that make sense? I'm just saying words which have no emotional signature, "I'm Jesus," and yet it gets translated into the words, "I'm Jesus." It gets heard, "I'm Jesus," and at this point there's no emotional response. And then I translate it into the language, "I'm Jesus." Wow, he's saying he's Jesus. And then all these emotions come up inside of myself, totally independent of what I'm intending to communicate with you. So I hear a lot of people say to me, "You think I'm better than you." You know, that's what they say to me, that I think I'm better than people. No, I don't. Why does the words "I'm Jesus" say to you, "I'm better than you"? There's got to be an emotional response there somewhere, right? Now, the beauty of soul-to-soul communication, which is available to you and particularly becomes available after your 8th sphere or 8th dimensional existence, is that you can communicate via feelings directly. God designed us all this way. Now, babies do this very well. There's a whole new form of teaching mothers nowadays. What's it called? Oh, do you remember what it's called? It's about the mother feeling the baby's emotion and knowing how to respond. Right? It's a new thing that's being taught recently. It's very powerful. And how it happens is the mother, instead of actually trying to work out what's wrong with the baby when the baby is crying, what she does instead is she feels her emotions about the baby's crying, and she knows automatically what the problem is, whether it's food, needs to be changed, or is uncomfortable, needs to move her arm. So the other day we were staying with a couple who just had a newborn child. How old?
3 months.
3 months. And the child was in my arms, and I was just rocking it, and I could feel the child felt constrained. Now the child felt constrained because I could feel its mother felt constrained, right? And the child started crying, and all I did was pull out the child's arms from the wrap that it was in, and the child stopped crying straight away because I could just feel automatically that that's what it was. Does that make sense? All of you have the ability to do exactly the same thing. Now, this soul language occurs constantly, all the time, but we often translate it into physical language. And in the spirit world, we often translate it into a different kind of language, but it's still the same type of process. There's still one step away from the real thing going on. And when all of the spirits in the 6th sphere understand that what they're trying to intellectually describe as a soul language is actually something that God created us with the capacity to do right from the moment of our incarnation, then they'd realise that actually there's nothing special about it or unique about it. It's just that we've detuned from the ability by using our mind. And that's, again, so again, a lot of times what we're doing is we say, oh, isn't this wonderful thing called soul language? But in reality, when you're an eighth sphere spirit, you don't even talk about it because it's something that you realise has been there from the moment of your incarnation. And so it's not something that is really very important to you. And that's why a lot of the things that get described from spirit world via natural love spirits sound quite fascinating and quite amazing, but in reality the eighth sphere spirit's not very interested in them anymore because they've got beyond that point of the interest in that particular information. Does that make sense?
AJ?
Yep.
I actually think these guys, what they refer to as soul language is speaking in tongues.
Well, yeah, there's also that, and that obviously is not soul language either. Speaking in tongues is actually where the person on earth is getting influenced by a spirit to speak the language that the spirit speaks. So that's a very, very different process than what I'm describing here. Does that make sense? So what happens often with people on earth is we've got our own soul and our own bodies on earth and we're being influenced by a spirit, and the spirit speaks their language through us, right, because of our connection with the spirit, and we call that a soul language, but it's actually only the language the spirit is actually using in the spirit world. That's all it is. And there are literally, like here on earth we have, what is it, about 8,500 languages or something all up, I think it is. And in the spirit world you could treble that. So there's actually 20 or 30,000 languages in the spirit world as well. And so in the end you can speak them all, but who really wants to when you can do this? So every celestial spirit can speak every language of the earth and every language in the spirit world, but they much prefer speaking using this soul connection. Yeah. Is there any more questions he has, or Can you? Yeah. Can I just remind him to just allow himself to keep feeling those emotions of abuse from the earth, and notice what's happening to his spirit body as he does so. He's actually already having changes. Yeah, he's quite overwhelmed emotionally.